quite a fresh breeze here on Queen Charlotte Sound, just heading from Waikawa Bay to across to Komatoto Bay, and it's quite different conditions from what I was expecting. The forecast was saying it was supposed to be southerly, but when I get out here I am in a northeaster, probably about between 12 and 15 knots perhaps. Welcome to the coffin. This is what it looks like when when you're about to go to sleep on a paradox. You can see that there's really only room for me. There's no other room to speak of, and it's quite cold outside. I'm filming this at about 10 o'clock at night, and we're in August, late August here in New Zealand, and I'm on Queen Charlotte Sound, and I think that the temperature is probably, the air temperature is going to get down to probably 6. You can see here that the windows are covered with condensation, and that's a good thing. So you can't see it so much well that side because of the light, but you can certainly see it on these windows, and it's like that all around the boat, and that's actually a design feature of a paradox, is that you have the insulation on the top of the boat, and I've got insulation everywhere, including on my hatch, and that means that at night when I'm breathing in here, because human generates a lot of moisture, the moisture condenses on the cold windows and just drains down into a sill there, and you don't end up with any moisture falling on your sleeping bag or your head or anywhere else, because the foam insulation that I've put up there, it's warm, so nothing condenses on it, and all the condensation occurs on the cold windows. Now this is the one area where I still haven't found a solution, and that's the sleeping bag, because you do generate a lot of moisture off the human body, and that ends up making your bedding damp, and there's no real opportunity to dry it out when you're on the boat, just because there's not enough space. So what I'm doing is when I get out of my sleeping bag, I leave it kind of loosely piled just at the entrance to the forepeak there, so I can do other things. And if I stop and get out and spend the day away from the boat, I lay the bedding right out inside the boat so that it really will have a chance to dry. But many times you're sailing every day, and so you just don't have that opportunity to do that, and it can get quite damp. And so this is where I spent the night. Komatoto Bay, Queen Charlotte Sound. It's got a nice wee beach, even if it is a bit pebbly. Not that I've been on it, I'm staying off the beach, just anchored up. Probably should have been down there, it might have been a little bit more sheltered, but as it turned out, it was pretty good anyway. And that's Picton in the distance with a ferry there. Now this is the kind of sailing that we like. We're just cruising along at about 4 knots, 3.5 to 4 knots. Pretty much on a beam reach, slightly forward of it. And I'm just off Tory Channel out there. So now don't need to worry about ferries anymore because the ferry will come around that corner. But I'm heading further up this way, so no longer do I have to worry about playing ferry dodgems. It's been a very slow process getting to here until now because I've been sailing upwind down there. Well, it's been a long day, but I'm finally on a bit of a downwind run into a place called Mint Bay, which is next to Dryden Bay. Never been here before, but hopefully it works out. So you can see now I've made it far enough out. Actually you can't see because I've just realised I'm looking at myself. That's the outer part of the Sounds there. That's Long Island. So I've been out for a couple of days now, and this is what my bilge compartments look like. And that's ballast there, and the lowest point of the bilge is just in here. I'm not sure whether you can see that or not, but the bilges are perfectly dry. So if you're careful, you can keep a paradox completely dry inside. No moisture is going to get in apart from moisture that you bring in on your footwear, or if you're sailing in rough conditions and you allow too much spray to get in the boat. That's obviously not good, but other than that it should stay dry. My mother-in-law passed away yesterday, I found out, and so I think she's in a better place now. But I would encourage you all, if you're watching this, seize the day. Every day is important. My mother-in-law, well, she was the mother-in-law of my late wife, and so I've had a lot of close people pass away in the last 4 years, and so it really makes me realise that our time on this planet is limited, and if you don't make the most of it, you'll regret it on your deathbed. So once again I say, seize the day, do what you can with your life, make a difference. I'm on Blue Mine Island in the Marlborough Sounds, which is a nature reserve with kiwi and other rare New Zealand endemic species on it. And so I'm just going to go for a walk on the track. This is the primary objective of this trip, was to get to this island and have a look at it, so I'm glad I've got here. So what I do, I mean, I'm in a very remote area, so it's highly unlikely that anybody would do anything, but hey, you never know. So you can see there that I've got the solar panel exposed, so that's going to charge while away, but also I've locked the hatches so that if anybody does come here, you know, they're not going to steal the boat. And the other thing that I've done is I have a stern line to my anchor out quite a way, and you can see there's quite a lot of slack on it. And then I have a bow line to the beach, which also has quite a lot of slack on it. And what I'm expecting to happen is that the breeze is going to gradually carry the boat downwind, and so it will be off the beach, and it will just, you know, I can obviously just pull it straight back in. Boat's still there, and it's not on the shore, it's just off the shoreline, so that worked. So it's about 3:45, or maybe it's even 4 o'clock now, in the afternoon on Wednesday the 23rd. So I've been out for 2 nights now, so this is my 3rd day, and I've been at Blue Mine Island, and I've just left that, and I'm catching this northerly, which is probably northerly of about 8 knots maybe, and I'm doing about 4 3/4 knots due straight downwind run. So my idea here is I'm going to utilise this wind, and I'm going to go as far as I possibly can with it before it gets dark. And yeah, so I've got the rig out the other side. I'll show you in a minute, but basically the sail is out to port, and so I sit hard to starboard to try and even it up, just to stop the boat from twisting too much. It's actually pretty good. It doesn't do it that much. It doesn't twist around. You'd think it would be a lot worse than it really is, but this is quite pleasant. Just you know, because well, the wind's going faster than me, but because I'm going with the wind, it means I'm not in much of a breeze myself. There's a little bit, I can feel a bit of it on the back of my neck, but it's pretty good. So here's my setup. Pretty easy really. I've got I've just got those 3 lines, and they just sit there and they don't do anything. And here's the rig, just sitting out on the port side of the boat. And it's a very forgiving rig. I don't have to do much with it. It can be a bit hairy if you allow the sail to get forward of the mast though. Forward of the mast things start to go south, and I've had it happen a couple of times and have been worried about spars getting broken. The boat basically just loses all control and attempts to capsize. Of course it won't capsize because it's so heavy, but you lose all control of the boat if you allow the rig to get forward of the mast, so I make sure never to do that. Other than that, it's pretty good. It looks great in these conditions, but I do think that I've cut it too deep, and if I did this sail again, I would make that dart at the bottom, I would make that quite a bit smaller. It's too deep. And the one at the top, I think I'd forego that entirely. I just wouldn't even have one. I'd keep it flat up the top.
So that's what I'd do if I redid it. In these conditions it's fantastic because of course it gets this big belly, it's like a spinnaker. But going up when I can't point as high as I should be able to, and I think it's because, you know, in a decent breeze, I can point very high in a light breeze, you know, zephyr, but in a substantial breeze, I just can't point high enough because there's too much belly in this sail.
Now here's the cool thing about my kind of boating. These people pay millions for these places. They've got to upkeep them. They're really not here very often, just over the Christmas holidays, only for a couple of weeks most of them. And they have to pay thousands of upkeep every year. Meanwhile, I show up, anchor in front of them for a few bucks, and I get exactly the same view that they do, with none of the concerns or worries that they have to put up with. Sure, at their cocktail parties, they've got the status of saying they've got a batch in the Sounds. I get that. But that's all it is really. You're paying a fortune for status. Humans, we're so driven by status. No wonder we've got so many problems. But if you can get over that and just be here for the thing itself, then you can have a great time for very little cash. I think that's what most of you who are looking at my channel want. You want to be able to have a great time without busting the bank, and I assure you, you can do it in a Paradox. We're nearly done. I've been sailing since 11 o'clock, and I've come from Bay of Many Coves, and I'm nearly at Nakuta Bay. Probably got another half hour of sailing, I would say. And the average speed I've been doing has been between 1.5 and 2.5 knots. Well, average. I mean, that's what I've seen. I've seen 2.5 is about as good as I've got, and 1.5 has been quite common. So it's taken me many hours to get down here. What is it? It's about 4 o'clock or something. I'm going to get in at about 4:30, and I left at 11. So it's been a very long day. My holiday is over, and I'm just waiting to be picked up. I just spent the night on this mud flat, and the tide is now coming in, so I'm just going to go for a bit of a walk, and when I get back the tide will be up more. I'll be able to pull the boat in, get back on it, pull it out on its anchor, because I've got a lot of the anchors well back in deep water, and pull it out the ramp over there behind me on the left behind the boat there. So because there's a bit of dampness inside the boat, I've left it with the chip fan going in the vent there. So hopefully that's just going to keep pushing some air through and dry things outside while I'm out. I've put the sleeping bag out inside, and I've worked out, yeah, that really does work. If you just leave the sleeping bag open during the day, it does dry out, and every night I've been quite dry when I got into a sleeping bag, so that's something I've learnt this trip. Other than that, it's been a great trip. It's been really good, very relaxing. I've really enjoyed it.